Hello. It's good to be connecting with you again in this way, even though we're in a time of isolation. So thank you for joining us this morning for this service. When I was in my early teenage years, I read a series of books written by Catherine Marshall called Christie. The first was called The Bridge to Cutter's Gap. And I really liked this character. She was a young, idealistic girl who wanted to go and be a mission school teacher in the Appalachian Mountains. So off she goes, and when she gets there, she finds that the people who live in the mountains are sort of wild, crazy mountain people in a lot of ways. And she sets up this school and has a lot of interesting experiences. And among them, she starts teaching these children, and there's all sorts of kids who come to the school. But among the class, there's a girl called Ruby. I think that's her name. I might misremember that, but I think she was Ruby. And Ruby was a chatterbox, she was needy, she was annoying, she was pestery, she was untruthful, she had very poor social skills. Australians would say she's a dobber, and my autocorrect had a lot of trouble with that word, but you all know what I mean. Basically, she was a pain. And this young, idealistic school teacher in a mission setting wants to be this godly person, but finds herself struggling with this irritating kid. And she comes to a stage where she makes a sentence about it. I want to look at that a little bit later in the service today, because we're going on a journey through the book of the chapter of 1 Corinthians 13. And it's been a bit of an odd journey. We started in the beginning with the first few sentences, and then because Easter was on us, we leapt right through to the ending and the last few sentences. And now we're going to go back to the middle. And the middle is in two parts. The first part is a definition about love, and the second part talks about the permanence of love. And so the journey has skipped around a little bit, but it's still the same passage, the famous passage about love from 1 Corinthians. We'll be looking at verses 4 to 7. It's the part where the passage says, love is, and it lists a whole lot of things. There's actually 15 of them. I wonder how many you can remember. Just think for a second. What are the things that the Bible says love is? We'll read it and see how many you remembered correctly out of that list. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 to 7. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonour others. It is not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. And the line after that says love never fails, and that goes into the permanence of love. It's sort of a bridging phrase between this list of the things that love is. In the first sermon in this series, when we got together, we talked about 4 kinds of love, and the one Paul's talking about here is agape love. And in the context, he was talking about all these different gifts, and then he says, but now I'll show you a most excellent way. It's not a gift, so that you could have the gift of prophecy or tongues or the gift of love. It's not like that. It's a way. It's a way of life for all the people who are in God's family. It's our everyday frame of reference, and it undergirds all the other gifts. In fact, if you use the other gifts without love, you may come to the end of your life and discover that you never said anything meaningful. You were just like a clanging gong. You never gained anything, even if you gave up all that you have, and you are nothing meaningful. It's really strong language. When we jump forward at Easter time and looked at the last phrase in this passage, it said, these 3 remain, faith, hope, and love. And we ask the question, what do we hope for as Christians? And that's a great thing to look at the Easter time. But we now go back into the middle, and this part that is a definition of Christian love. You see, the world that we live in is in love with love. So many of the songs that are played on the radio or on TV shows, so many of the plays we see, or poetry that we read, or stories that we are engaged in, or the movies that happen are all about love. These are some of the lines from those things about love. A self-satisfying kind of love that says, you complete me, that says, I feel good, na 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 na, like I knew that I would now. I love you for how you make me feel. You make me feel like a natural woman. And the world that we live in always had, and increasingly has, a really poor understanding of love. And so a definition of what love actually looks like, of getting right down into the nitty-gritty, that changes the way we think about love from the definition the world offers us to the definition the Bible gives us. It's a really valid thing to do. It's really valid to be this specific. And I want to give credit here to this guy. His name's Colin Smith. And just as a side note, when I looked through the sermon from last week, I realised I skipped a line and didn't give credit to Tim Keller then. And I think it's an important thing to do. So Tim Keller then and Colin Smith in this service, he made a series about love for beginners. And in this section, he talked about what love looks like. And I listened to a lot of what he said, and it helped me put this service together. So I want to give him that credit. Colin Smith talks about the usefulness of a really specific biblical description of love in a world that misdescribes and misunderstands love so often. And he talks about these qualities of patience and kindness, humility, courtesy, restraint, joy, and consistency of biblical love. So let's have a look at them. You might remember Chrissy and those children from the Appalachian Mountains, particularly Ruby. What she ended up saying about Ruby was that she needed to learn a patient love. If you look in the authorized version, it doesn't use the word patient as it translates it. It gives the word love suffers long. Love suffers long. And it's a really good thing to remember about love and patience, that it suffers long, that it gives you a long capacity to put up with really difficult, awkward people who are untruthful or prickly to get on with, people who are a pain, people like Ruby. Love gives you a longer capacity to put up with difficult people or the difficult circumstances life might throw up at you. As you grow in patience, you grow in your capacity to love others. And in the books that I read, when Christy was talking about Ruby, she said, she is my burden. She's the person God gave me so that I would learn a patient love. You see, her love wasn't patient. She loved lovable people, but wasn't patient enough to love those critically difficult people. She knew that she needed to learn patience. What a good thing to discover at a young age. The next thing the Bible tells us about love is that it's kind. Love is full of kindness. Kindness looks on others with warmth and openness. It's very accepting about other people. Kindness gives generously. It pays attention. It treats other people gently and affectionately, whether they're in success or in failure. So if another person succeeds, kindness celebrates their success with them. And if they fail, kindness says, are you all right? And it recognises how much you must have suffered as you fail. Kindness might seem like an ordinary sort of thing, but don't be fooled. It's an extraordinarily beautiful characteristic for a person to have. It makes beautiful people. People who are kind, are really lovable, easy to love. It was the great missionary to India, Amy Carmichael, who said, you can always give without loving, but you can never love without giving. Love is kind, and kindness gives. It gives of time and attention and of possessions and tangible things as well. Kindness is giving. The next thing the Bible talks about is a sort of humility. It says that love is not proud. And the Greek word here, one person told me, is that the definition is windbag. Love is not a windbag. Love doesn't go about bragging and boasting about all that it has experienced, all that it saw, all that it knows, all that it understands. Love is not proud and it's not boastful. It's not glorifying itself. It's not so full of itself that it can't see the needs of others. And we all have known someone like that, whose whole conversation is about what they saw, or what they know, or what they experienced. I guess we're all familiar with the story of cancer patients. If you're in a really dire situation, whose visit comes and complains about their indigestion all the time. It's that sort of self-absorption that love resists. It's not like that. Love is not proud. I worked with the Windsor Baptist Church for a while, most of you know that. And on staff there was this couple, Grace and her husband, and they were really terrific people in their mid to late 70s, I would guess, with a long history of mission involvement, really wise, strong people in the church. And on one Sunday, Grace spoke in the morning, and then in the evening service, when I went there, I noticed it was a church that attracted a lot of uni students at that stage. I noticed one of those uni students got up and sort of left the church. And I went out and sat with her, and she was crying her eyes out in a car park. Just crying and crying. And it took a long time for her to explain what had so upset her, but it was this. When Grace spoke in church in the morning, she talked about reaching out to other people and inviting them along to things the church was doing. And she said, I sat there this morning in church and listened to Grace say that, and I was so angry with her. And I walked away saying, it's all very good for you, Grace. You with your terrific husband and your great history, you who's finished work and retired, you can get up and prune your roses, and you've got time and energy to reach out to other people. Don't you tell me to do that. My boyfriend broke up with me, I have hardly any income, things are really tight, I've got exams coming up, and you're telling me I've got to have all this energy to reach out to other people. You know, it's so unrealistic for you to ask that of me. And the reason she was crying was just in the announcements that evening, in that evening church service. They talked about Grace's husband who had a quadruple bypass surgery that weekend. An unexpected heart attack. You see, Grace really was a person full of grace, and she could see past her own issues to the larger issues, what was happening in the church family, and talk about that and be absolutely full of affectionate kindness for other people. And that uni student felt deeply convicted about her attitude, to resent Grace, and not to realise that Grace was not proud. Grace was not self-absorbed. Love is not proud, it's humble. And Grace is like that. There is no swagger in love. There's no looking at yourself as if you're great. Real love is far too big and wide and deep for something like that. Dr. Alan Redhart talked about the example of the humility of Jesus, and he said, we see Jesus' humility not only in what he displayed, but in what he suppressed. There's such a lot in that. Can you imagine the number of times that the disciples around him talked about what they thought, or how the world should work, or what he should be? Can you imagine the number of times Jesus was suppressing the far superior knowledge and understanding he had about the world? We see Jesus' humility not only in what he displayed, but in what he chose not to display. And that's a really good link to the next quality that the Bible talks about. Love being not rude. Love is not rude. Love demonstrates courtesy. And there's a nice little cartoon here about some children, that some child has drawn about children sharing pencils and being polite, having good manners. Does that seem like an odd thing to include in the list? Does it seem small? Does it seem a bit childish? I guess it did to me when I first thought about it. And then someone else was talking about this, and they said, wait until your love is in trouble. Wait until a marriage relationship sits on the brink of divorce. Wait until a romantic relationship is distressed. Wait until you're really locking horns with a difficult teenager or something. When love is in trouble, they said, courtesy is a great place to start. You can start an upward spiral out of trouble by just choosing good manners. And you say please and thank you, and then you go a little deeper, and you speak about that person when no one else is listening in a way that is courteous and respectful. It's an easy and doable beginning step to make. And when everyone else is standing around going, oh, my husband, you know how women get together, and oh, my husband's such an idiot, oh, he's such a fool, he did this, he did that, and perhaps husbands do the same thing and get together and talk about their wife. Well, she always wants this and she always that. But in that moment when they're not there, to speak of them with courtesy and respect. It's such a doable place to start a spiral of change. And I thought that was a great thought about courtesy. To be courteous is built on respect for other people. That's how it begins. It's been said that courtesy is the oil and machinery of human relationships, good manners. Paul and I were foster carers for a number of years, and one of the suggestions given to us early was that rather than having, 34 little rules for every child that comes to care, have one big umbrella rule. And the big umbrella rule that we ended up with is there's a polite way to say anything you have to say. And we found it covered a lot of things. If you're in trouble, if you're upset, if you're angry, there's a polite way to talk about that. If you need something, there's a polite way to talk about that. If you've done wrong and done badly, there's a polite way to talk about that. And we will talk to you in polite ways. And we're asking you to talk to us in polite ways, no matter what happens. And we saw that as a really effective thing. We never once had to say to a foster kid, don't swear. We never once said that. But they came into our home from families that treated one another really differently, that these kids would often live with violence and aggression and really strong disrespect. And good manners set a whole different tone early in the piece, and these kids clicked into that time, and it made a difference. And we never had to say, don't swear. Very, very soon, these kids just didn't do it. That's just not how we treat one another here. Don't be fooled. There is real power in courtesy. It's a terrific thing to do. And it exercises restraint, which goes on to the next set of things that the Bible talks about. Love is restrained. It is not easily angered. It doesn't keep a record of wrongs. Love is not touchy, says the J.B. Phillips translation, which is a lovely translation. It's not easily upset. It's not quick to take offence. And I guess most of us who've worked in an office context somewhere have known that person that takes offence easily, that everyone handles with kid gloves. You walk on eggshells around a person like that. You just never know what will set them off, and they sort of strike out at others like a snake striking when they're offended or upset. It was Voltaire who said to learn who rules over you. Simply find out who you're not allowed to criticise. Love exercises restraint, and it doesn't take offence and get angry at other people. Smith talked again about this as that anger being a quality revealed in the older brother of the prodigal son. At the end of the story of the prodigal son coming home and the father making a feast and clothing him with a robe and giving him a ring on his finger, the older brother comes home and out comes anger. And a part of him says, this stinks, this is not fair. I was the one who stayed here. I didn't do what he did. I've been faithful and committed. I did the right thing all the time. You never even gave me a goat to celebrate with my friends. And he's angry. And Smith says, this is the fault that comes in those committed, hard-working, faithful members of the family. And whether it's a literal nuclear family or the family of God or the family of the community of people, we get these terrific people who are there for the long haul, they're faithful and committed and they work hard. But when they see someone else getting rewarded, someone else finding success, a part of them rises up and says, that's not fair. Why did I get that? And there's an inclination to resent the success or the achievement or the blessing or the reward of others. How do you feel? How do you cope when someone else, maybe someone who in your assessment is less deserving, gets recognition, gets some kind of reward? Love exercises restraint. Love celebrates the achievements of others without making an unkind comparison about themselves. And all throughout love, says the Bible, there's this thread of joy. I want you to imagine for a second you're a priest in the temple of the Israelite people thousands of years ago. And there you are with a great sense of responsibility for the community around you, which has got some real problems and issues, and people don't always behave well. And into the temple one day, right into the sacred temple, comes this woman, and she stumbles a bit, she's mumbling, she's slurring in her speech. It's like as if she's semi-conscious, and you're just disgusted to see her there behaving like that. And the priest comes and says to her, "Put away your wine. How long will you keep drinking? You know, you dishonour the house of God behaving in this way." But as the story unfolds, he realises how wrong he is, and the priest is Eli, and the woman is Hannah. And she's not drunk. She's just pouring out her heart with tears to her God. She's streaked with snot and tears because she's so distressed in her soul. And she's weeping about her childlessness. And God was hearing her. God was listening to what she said. I often think of Gamaliel's advice given in the New Testament as the council of the Sanhedrin met together, and he says, "Beware lest you find yourself to be fighting against God." And that's what happened with Eli. He thought he was saying the right thing, but he was fighting against God. Actually, God was listening to Hannah, and God was going to answer her prayer. See, Eli, when he looked at her, he assumed the worst. He assumed that she was drunk and out of order. Love doesn't assume the worst. Love assumes the best in people. And there's this thread of joy in the sorts of relationships, the love relationships that the Bible is describing, because of this optimism, because it assumes the best about other people. Sometimes in churches they talk about the world we live in, the situation where you find a sort of gloomy pessimism, a cynicism, that says this whole thing is just one big hopeless mess. Well, it is a mess. Quite often it is a mess, but for the children of God, it's never a hopeless mess. Underneath the whole thing lies this truth that this world belongs to God. It's His. And even in this mess, He still has His hand on it, underneath are the everlasting arms. It's not a hopeless mess, not nationally, in the mess of the COVID-19 virus, shaking up the way people live. The mess sits within the hand of God. And it's true still individually in relationships, that you look at other people struggling, making a mess, making bad decisions. The mess looks hopeless, but it's not. Because you have to account to God, whose hand hovers over us all. And there's a joy in that, there's a hope in that doesn't fade. And the last part of this definition the Bible gives us is about consistency. And it comes in the use of the word always. Love always, 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 always. It always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, and it always perseveres. Love never fails. Love never lets one down. Love is steady and reliable and faithful and consistent. How should we use what we've learned out of love? Perhaps we can prayerfully look back through our life and say to God, with whom do I need to be more patient? In what relationship do I need to look for the thread of joy? One sermon that I heard had a tagline that said, if you don't, then you don't. And it went through all of these characteristics. And it said, if you don't treat people patiently, you don't really love them. If you don't have kindness for the person, you don't really love them. And it went through all of these qualities, saying that sort of thing, that was sort of its tagline. And I came away feeling sort of unhappy with it. See, there's a tone in all that he says there that's about judgment. If you don't, then you don't. You're not really a good Christian person. And that doesn't fit with the context of the whole passage. Paul was writing to a church that didn't. It didn't have this stuff worked out. It was really in a mess. And he wasn't being judgmental, he was showing them a better way. And there's an optimism and hope in the conversation he has with them. It was also sort of unreal. The Bible is always very realistic about who we are as people and how we fail or succeed. And in this case, it's unrealistic to say that I will be perpetually patient with people 100% of the time. I know that I love my kids, and I know that I was not perfectly patient with them. I know that I was not always kind. But I did love them, and I do love them still. And the Bible's far more realistic than that. The net result of that sort of application of this material was not strengthening, but sort of guilt-inducing and pretty negative. I think it's more helpful and more biblical to think about this passage this way. I can't, but he can. I don't, but he does. And that's my goal. That's the direction that I'm moving. Galatians lists the fruit of the Spirit, and the first one is love. The fruit of the Spirit of God living in us is love. And it lists all those other things: joy, peace, and patience, and kindness, and faithfulness, all part of this list. But the fruit of the Spirit living in us is love. And fruit takes time. Grow and mature and ripe. Fruit takes time. And as we go into the week ahead of us, and as we think about the relationships God has given us, the relationships people have put in our lives, that God has put in our lives, He's given us people who are the place for us to learn patient love, kindness in love, long suffering, all of these qualities. And I pray that if that's sort of we see God living in those. Thank you.